Hello and welcome to Money Markets and More with me, Dominic Frisby. So you might have seen in the news a couple of days back, maybe even a week back now, that to make Britain's unaffordable housing affordable, Chancellor Jeremy Hunt and the Treasury are considering a scheme whereby people can buy homes with a deposit of just 1% and get a 99% mortgage. Thus, in theory, you could buy a £1 million home with just a 10 grand deposit. I expect they'll cap it below that level, but you get the point. Now, it's become a cliche of the internet, but we say it anyway. What could possibly go wrong? It's good to see the lessons from 2008 have been learned. Who would guarantee these loans? Should the buyer default? You would. You probably didn't know this, but you're already guaranteeing £4 billion worth of debt under the existing mortgage guarantee scheme. You could soon be guaranteeing a whole lot more. Remember how they used taxpayer money to bail out the banks in 2008, and it was called socialism for the rich. That's what everyone said. This is the same thing, except this time they're bailing out the housing market. Now, the Tories have this annoying and mendacious habit of leaking a policy to the press before it is actually policy to see how it goes down. And I say mendacious because it is misleading. If they had any actual first principles by which they operated, then they would not do this. Instead, what sets policy is what Tories think might make them popular. In any case, I would hope this is another one of those test the water leaks rather than something we'll actually see come the next budget in March. Because it will send prices higher, just like its predecessor Help to Buy did. And that is the last thing we want. The solution to unaffordable housing is lower prices, not more debt. But regardless of whether the scheme gets the go-ahead or not, it still tells us all we need to know about how the blob is going to fix Britain's housing crisis. It isn't. Instead, it's going to come up with increasingly innovative ways to bring more debt into the market and thereby send prices even higher. It was the same after the global financial crisis in 2008, 2009. There was a chance to let the whole thing reset. Instead, we got suppressed interest rates, quantitative easing, and then Help to Buy, all of which protected the already haves at the expense of the have-nots. Labour won't make a jot of difference, by the way. It is just as bereft of first principles. That's how Keir Starmer's going to win the next election, by not standing for anything. It's a wonderful policy. Not that it matters who wins, because the blob run the whole show anyway. Now, it makes me weep what high house prices have done to this country. I see an entire generation, if not two, psychologically damaged almost, beyond repair, because they cannot afford somewhere decent to live. They feel inadequate. They delay starting families, or they have smaller families, or they have no children at all because they cannot afford anywhere to house them. They then hate themselves because they have no children. The result of smaller families later in life is population decline. The blob then says there aren't enough young people, there aren't enough workers, opens the door to mass immigration, and guess what happens then? Cheap imported labour pushes wages down, but it increases demand for housing and essential services. State systems are too slow to adapt. Housing gets even more unaffordable. It is the most vicious of vicious circles. Locals are then told that priority in the workplace must be given to the newcomer because diversity. Complain and you are a racist. Your history is bad, by the way. And you wonder why everything is such a total clusterfuck. Why do you think so many young people are so nihilistic? Because deep down, they know they are never going to be able to afford anywhere decent to live, never mind pay off their student loans or start a family. They are effectively excluded from society. But hey, stop drinking lattes and eating smashed avocado and work harder. Who do you know who can afford to buy somewhere where they grew up? Very few people. I know I can't. I'm part of the 1%. It's the opposite of progress. When people can't afford to live where they grew up, they lose touch with their roots, their traditions, their culture, the very land. And you wonder why we have lost touch with who we are. All because of stupid house prices. Houses themselves are not that expensive. You can buy a 1,400 square foot 4-bed house with a 145 square foot porch for 45 grand, delivery in 6 weeks. You'll need someone to put it together, and you'll need somewhere to put it. The issue is land. And it's a needless issue that goes all the way back to one of the most insidious and stupid bits of legislation ever enacted, the Town and Country Planning Act of 1947. When you create debt, you create money. The more money you bring into a market, the higher prices will go. See student loans for more details. When that market is limited in how much it can expand, which is the case with UK housing because of restrictive planning laws, you get our situation where houses have gone up by 3.5 times more than wages. All the Treasury is doing with this policy is finding new ways to get more money into the market. There is only one way that will send house prices. It will only make things worse. The solution to unaffordable housing is lower prices. The blob will not let that happen. By all means, prop up the housing market. The cost will be your country. Yeah, strong words. Thanks very much for watching. I'll be back with another video very soon. Please subscribe to the channel. Please share this video with a friend. Until next time, goodbye.